Hello, Oracles. Has Tesla stock finally hit the bottom? Well, we were down 6.5% yesterday after an earnings beat, but the market sold off anyway. So we're taking a look going forward. The biggest thing that we have going on right now with the stock price movement in the near term is this Twitter overhang. Of course, Gary Black talks about this all the time, but there's a lot of people who are anticipating Elon having to sell more shares, and if he does, that is in turn going to bring the stock price down. Gary had mentioned that it's about 1% of float that Elon would have to sell based upon his calculations, which in turn would move the stock about 2% based upon Elon sales by themselves. Obviously, there would be other repercussions along with that, maybe some other orders that have gone through for sell orders. That could bring it down a little bit further, but otherwise that would be it. That is the only real selling pressure we have going forward. So looking at some of the movements we have been seeing in the stock price lately, we had got really close to that $200 level. We hit 202 and bounced right off of that and came back up. So in talking with Clueless in the comments, some of the things that I had noticed as well, looking like that there's a lot of buyers coming in under the $200 level, and market makers can see this. They see that there's a lot of buyers down there, and they don't want to drive their price lower because if they try to drive it down, people are just going to buy that right back up, and it's not worth their efforts to bring it down to those levels. So it looks like right now $200 is that support. James Stevenson on the Stevenson indicator has shown that we have never gone below the $200 level since 2018. So a couple of things playing into this and trying to see, are we going to push lower? So now we've got some news about Twitter and Elon having discussions over the last couple of days. These discussions becoming more cordial. They're actually trying to get this deal finalized. We know that the court date is coming up on October 28th, and I think both parties are looking to potentially actually resolve this before they go to court and go to get all their lawyers involved and have a potentially expensive hearing to go on to decide what's going to happen. They're going to hash this out themselves. So it sounds like Elon is going to be cutting about 75% of the staff. That in turn could entice a bunch of financial backers to come in for this. So, looking at the discussions that they're having with Morgan Stanley and the banks, seems like the banks are going to be taking about a $500 million paper loss right now upon all of this because of everything that has happened over the year with the market coming down and Elon's reversals on things. So could be seeing a paper loss in the banks, but they still have the financial backing, and it seems like there's a bunch more financial backers that are coming into this deal. And today it seems like there's a lot of people right now who are shorting the stock, betting on Elon selling shares today. So we have this play going on in the market, and if Elon does not end up selling any shares today, and in turn tells us that he does not have to sell any shares, we could see a massive gamma squeeze coming in, pushing the stock significantly higher because all of these shorts will end up having to cover because that means that Elon doesn't have to sell. Now, if Elon does end up selling today, it could potentially drive that stock price below $200. We've discussed it before, the $313 level. When you find that strong level of support or resistance, you usually need some sort of catalyst to drive you through that. Right now, we have $200 as a strong support. Elon selling shares would be that catalyst that could drive us below $200. Now, we have Chicken Genius also coming out saying that right around that $200 level is the place that he thinks that you could come and start dollar cost averaging again. I, of course, have been dollar cost averaging all along the way, but for a guy who's calling the bottom at 140, saying that 200 is a place that you could start dollar cost averaging because even he's not sure if it's going to pull down any further. That is a good signal as well that we could be seeing this bottom. And of course, we have the macro environment that's also involved in this. We've got the midterm elections going on, Russia-Ukraine going on, all sorts of other storms that we have to weather across the world. But when it comes to Tesla specific, seems like this Twitter thing, which will be resolved within the next week, should be the end of it. So once this is done, we can say, okay, the big seller that could potentially be coming in, which is Elon, is either in or not going to have to be in, and that will be it. So hopefully within the next week, maybe even today, we will have all of these answers finalized. And just a reminder that all of this is just near-term noise. When we look back in 3 years, we're going to look at these times as the times where we wish we had bought more. Whenever we get to times like this where the stock price is depressed, I've taught myself to be excited about these times because I can buy more. But if I do get discouraged, I put in my 2025 glasses and I say, all right, well, in 2025, I anticipate this stock being over $1,000. And we are either going to be seeing a split in August of 2024 or August of 2025 is my guess that we will see the next split. So looking through those glasses back to today makes me excited about these times to be like, ooh, I really want to buy more because I can see where the potential of this company is going. And pushing over $1,000 at that time means that that's a 4 to 5x from where we are right now. So a 4 to 5x in the next 3 years is pretty darn exciting to me. And that to me puts a beautiful silver lining around any of these dark clouds that we are experiencing at the moment. And a big thing that a lot of analysts are looking at is the PE ratio right now of Tesla and how they compare it to competition. And they're like, well, what PE, what valuation do you put on Tesla stock? And some people are like, well, you put on the same PE that you do for an automotive maker because, it's an automotive maker itself. Tesla is a car maker. And you're like, but it's not. And so if you are going to be putting a PE ratio on Tesla based on the fact that it's only a car maker, then you are going to be surprised in the future. So if we continue to compress the stock down as it is, what happens when Tesla decides that, oh, by the way, energy is now bringing in more revenues than cars? Well, what PE do you put on that? Because what PE ratio do you put on Saudi Aramco? And just now imagine Saudi Aramco back when it started. What PE ratio do you put on these oil industry companies? Oh, how about AI? What PE ratio do you put on AI when Optimus comes out? So you're going to see massive jumps along the way when Tesla does end up showing, and by the way, energy is producing more revenue than our cars. And by the way, our cars haven't even hit their peak yet, and energy is already hitting more revenue than that. Oh, by the way, here comes Optimus and AI. By the way, our software is going to be bringing in more revenue than both as well. So what kind of PE ratio do you put on that? It's very confusing because people don't know. People don't know how to put the two together because nobody else really does that. And then what PE ratio do you put on a company that's doing AI? It doesn't even really exist at the moment, so what kind of ratio can you put on that? You don't know. It's like going back to the 90s and saying, well, what kind of PE do you put on an internet company? You don't know. What does the internet mean? Nobody knows what the internet means. Nobody understands what AI means because we're not there yet. You can't see the full potential. You can assume what it might be. A lot of us have already discussed this and had thoughts about what AI is going to bring to the world. But it's only the very open-minded people who are having those discussions. There's a lot of other people who are like, well, it's not here yet. We don't know how to value it, so we're not even going to think about it yet. So that's why Tesla is this sleeping dragon right now that nobody is really understanding because there's so much potential that is coming that you can't even put a valuation on. And speaking of silver linings, Elon was having a conversation with Tesla owner Silicon Valley over on Twitter about a recession and how bad it could be and how long it could last. Elon's thoughts are that it is going to last until the spring of 2024 and that it has a silver lining. And the silver lining is a lot of times in recessions, he has said this in the past, that a lot of companies that should not be in existence end up going away. So obviously to those companies, it's not a good thing, but for the overall economy and the health of everyone around us, that is the best thing to happen because, it's this dead weight, these zombie companies, they get cleaned out and they move forward. He said that SpaceX and Tesla are in very strong positions to be able to get through this and weather that storm, but these other companies will end up going to the wayside, which is actually not a bad thing. So he said it's going to vary depending on a lot of different things. And as he has said before, he is not an expert when it comes to macroeconomics, and there's so many different variables that go into it. But these are just his thoughts, and this is how we can then determine how Tesla is going to be performing over the next year and a half as well, because what the decisions they make are based upon how they're feeling. And if Elon thinks that we could potentially be seeing a recession going through the spring of 2024, then the decisions that they make will have that in their mindset when they're making those decisions. So we can see these things. So when we heard that on the earnings call saying that, hey, even if we get into a really tough economic time next year, they will still have enough cash flow coming in to be able to do $5 to $10 billion worth of buybacks, that tells me they have thought this out. They have had these discussions about a potential bad recession coming through the spring of 2024, and they still see the company doing extremely well during those times, and well enough to not only fund the company and all of their projects, but also do buybacks on top of it. So then you look past that into the silver lining in the future as well and say, well, if during these really tough economic times, they are going to thrive that well, what's going to happen when we come out of it? And the companies that were competition aren't there anymore, and we come out and they don't have to worry about all this. What could the future potentially bring us? And so while we have all of this near-term noise going on, the stock getting depressed because they beat earnings, but they didn't beat expectations by enough, or they missed revenue top line, or they're afraid that there's going to be growth slowing in the future because the China demand is down, all of these things that are going on right now that are suppressing the stock price are going to end up lifting thing, and we are going to be moving into the future. You know, even the Twitter deal issue going on right now, we've got the president and the administration coming out right now saying that, you know, they really need to investigate what's going on over there with Twitter and Elon's acquisitions and whether they're legitimate and, you know, is he siding with Russia and all of this other FUD that they are spreading themselves, discussing all of this because they clearly don't want to have discussions with Elon. If they just sat the dude down and talked to him, they would understand and they'd be on the same side. But they're giving him crap about asking for money for Starlink over in Ukraine and saying, well, you know, he's not supporting them anymore over there, which means he must be siding with Russia. It's like, dude, he's asked for money. If you are in support of Ukraine so much, why aren't you backing them with your money? You know, that boggles my mind over there. So they're just contradicting themselves, creating this whole big mess that's going on. But again, this is all just noise. So once this all moves away and see what the future could potentially bring us, that is where the dragon is going to come out. That is where we are going to catch fire and really take off with the stock. So looking at the prices right now, yes, it stinks. Your portfolios are most likely red. They're probably not pretty. You probably have most of your portfolio in Tesla, which means that your portfolio is even more red than everything else. It stinks. I get it. My portfolio is in the same position right now. I feel like all the money that I keep on putting into the stock just melts away like cotton candy in water. So for me, it is depressing as well, but I continue to add because I am looking further down the road. Elon doesn't look in a 1, 2, or 3 year time frame. Elon's looking out 10, 20 years. Elon's looking into the horizon infinitely, looking out there saying, what can we do for humanity in the future? He doesn't pay attention to things when it comes to the money. He's not in this for the money. He is in this for the mission. So then you have to look at yourself and say, what are you in this for? What is your mission? If it is all about the money and you're not looking at it long term, yeah, these times are going to stink. But if you are in this for the long-term mission for yourself and for the company, let this noise go away. Use these times to add more to your position, and then you can have even more wealth in the future and adding to your mission in building that wealth up. And now, of course, none of this is financial advice. This is just me speaking out loud as to what I am going to be doing in my insights and my thoughts. So you guys need to do your own due diligence and research and do what is best for you and your portfolios. So let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think about this Twitter deal? Do you think it's going to be done today? Do you think we're going to have Elon coming out and telling us that he does not have to sell any more shares and we see a gamma squeeze? Do you think this is finally going to be done in the next week and we can finally start moving the stock price up and this is actually the bottom? Let me know your thoughts. So I will be looking to have Dr. Jack on and my friend Pedro for the next episode of Health and Wealth. We will be discussing different things you guys can do for your health to be able to enjoy your wealth even longer. We will be discussing Tesla stock and how you can improve your portfolio health as well. So I will let you guys know when that's going to happen. We're going to try to maybe do it tonight, but either way, it'll be coming on soon and I will give you guys details on that as soon as I have them. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat, that link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a Patreon, that link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.